I said I would give today is called the Entheological paradigm. And it's both very simple, but it's kind of mind-boggling at the same time. So I'll want to talk about it as much as I can from that. It's based on just a few fundamental principles, actually. And the goal, if I may be so bold, is to explain everything. And I think I can do it. I don't know if I can do it in another hour and a half, but I can do it. But I'd like to start just with a couple questions. The first question is, how many of you can confidently raise your hand and say, yeah, I know who I am? How many of you can raise your hand? I know who I am. Okay, few of you. Interested about Ashland crowd, you guys are so sophisticated. All right, another question. And this is a loaded question, you might say, oh, I don't believe in that. How many of you feel that you know God? You know who God is?
Define no.
Okay, good. Well, hey guys, welcome. Arrowhead, very nice. What I hope to get across to all of you this evening, by sharing personal anecdotes and whatever, is that the answer to both of those questions is the same. It's actually the same answer, that there is no difference. And so in that sense, I mean, the entheological paradigm, what does that mean? Well, first of all, entheological. Entheo means God within. Logical means the logic or study of. Paradigm means an exemplary model or system. So entheological paradigm means the model of reality based on the idea of God within. And if you take this seriously, which you probably have noticed by this point that I do take this extremely seriously, if you take this position seriously, what that means is that despite appearances, there's only one being in this room right now. Despite appearances and despite experiences, there is actually only one being here. Not only that, that one being is also the room. And not only that, that one being is everything that exists outside of this room. That one being simply is everything. So that's what I mean by the entheological paradigm. One being. This entire universe, everything that exists, every thought you have ever had, every emotion you have ever felt, everything you've ever seen, smelled, tasted, touched, everything is simply one being. And I call that being God, because that seems like a pretty good word for a being of that stature. So, what's the problem? The problem is, first of all, most people don't experience that. It's not necessarily a problem, actually. There's a reason for that. You know, so we can be here, we can actually do what we're doing now. We kind of actually have to trick ourselves. Right? We're just playing a game. So that we could say maybe that's a problem, maybe it's not a problem, but it's reality. Most people don't actually experience that. So that's kind of an issue to say, look, there's actually only one being. You say, whoa, hey, but you're clearly not me, right? You know, you're you, I'm me, we're different physical bodies. How can we actually just be one being? That doesn't make any sense. So most people don't experience it, and it sounds kind of strange when you say it. And also to say, well, I certainly don't feel like this board right here, but you're telling me that's me? It doesn't feel like me, because I can burn that, and it doesn't hurt. If I burn me, that hurts. So, this is me, not me, not me. That seems really logical, makes sense. So we have this issue of, despite appearances, here's what reality is. And, that should raise some flags, honestly. anyone who says, despite your experience, here's what reality is, you should say, dude, really? So that should raise some flags. So maybe by the end you'll agree with me, maybe not, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to try to anyway. But raise your flags. Now, on the other hand, we have, and this is going to be very broad, very general, because we have science. And science goes around and describes the world and kind of picks it apart. And, you don't find God anywhere, really. You just kind of find a lot of energy places, and you find little quarks and atoms and everything else, and quasars and galaxies and all the rest of that. And it's like you don't find God. And, it looks like the universe is made out of a lot of different stuff. And I can look out the window and say, there's a lot out there. It seems like it's not me. But within physical sciences, we have really great explanatory models for how everything seems to work. We can make nuclear weapons, so we can, blow really big shit up. And, we seem to be rather effective with our physical knowledge. And another problem with that is that even within science, when people talk about, quote, religion or God, there tends to be this very removed perspective. Scientists, like somebody like Stephen Hawking might say, well, God created the universe according to mathematical laws and principles, but this is the universe. This is not God, this is the universe. This is created by God. And philosophically, that relates back to what was called deism, which basically, these were the intellectual founding fathers of the United States, were deists. Yeah, so anyone who ever tells you that the United States was founded by Christians, just let them know that they're totally fundamentally wrong, that it wasn't. This is not a Christian nation in any sense, it's a deist nation, if anything. But anyway, the deists basically said, yeah, of course the universe was created by God, but God doesn't have anything to do with the universe anymore. God made it, and now it just runs according to natural law. So if God exists, God is something removed, something exterior, something that exists out there somewhere else, and God doesn't really care about what's happening here, because it's just physical stuff going on, really. Then on the other side, you have like some scientists who say, oh yes, science is all good, and I believe in science. I just saw this video of this guy online just yesterday. And then somebody asked him, okay, but what about Jesus? Well, of course, God could intervene in natural law and, suspend the physical principles to allow for miracles to happen. And, therefore, science is not in any kind of conflict with the Bible. Okay. And so he's taking more of a metaphorical look at the Bible and saying, well, okay, so we don't have to believe, the particulars of, some of the wacky stuff that's in this book, but, we could accept that maybe Jesus, actually did the whole resurrection thing and Son of God and, salvation and all that good stuff. So, in other words, we have a scientist basically buying, pretty much the fundamental Christian story, outside of, the literal details of some of the things that are in the Bible. And then also being a scientist. Personally, I don't see how those are compatible.